I'm Adrian Copley. Been a member here since 1960, and what a wonderful place to learn to play golf. If you learn to play your golf here, you can play anywhere, and you have to master the wind, because it's not many days where you don't get a wind here, and it's a wonderful test of golf. And I've enjoyed every minute of it, and I still do to this very day.
So tell me about your history in Isle of Man golf and how it's connected with Castletown.
I first entered the championship way back, and I remember playing Bill Stead, who's unfortunately no longer with us now, but him and I formed a good team. We played county golf together, and I played Bill at Ramsey in the final in '65, and we had a great match, but he beat me. And then the following year I went on to win it at Rowney, and I played Tim Watson, and what a lot of people don't know, I was 4 down after the first 18. I went 6 down after 20 holes, and Sid Ashworth and Harold Kane were walking up the 22nd hole, and Sid turned to Harold and said, "This game is dead, Copley is finished." And somewhere along the line that got me motivated, and I said to myself, I will show them whether Copley's finished or not. And I clawed my way back, and I won at the last hole with a birdie 3, and I think, if my memory serves me correctly, I came back in about 32 or 3 shots, and it was the only time I was up, and I won with a 3 at the last.
Well, Adrian, I mean, you must have seen so many fantastic golfers on the island. Who would be some of your favourites and most admirable players from Castletown?
Julian Sutton comes to mind. I played Julian in the final at Ramsey in '85 on the day when there was a petrol strike on, and we shouldn't have really played because it was a howling gale. And I remember my first drive going down the first hole, finished near the football field hedge, but I still found the ball, and I played off the hedge and managed to get a 4 out of it and halved the hole with Julian. But after that I sort of went downhill and lost. But
well, you talk about Julian, who's obviously one of the greatest players ever to come from the island. What was the strength in his game?
Well, he was solid, well built, a bit like yourself, Jed, tall, and solid swing, and a lovely rhythm, and he always swung within himself. When we played in the final, he said, especially in the wind, he never swung at full whack. It was always a bit left, and you don't take so much out of yourself. And he was just a natural, cool, calculated, and well, his record speaks for itself.
Fantastic. I mean, you must have had many fantastic rounds at Castletown. What are some of your most memorable ones?
Shooting 68 gross, I think.
And when was that?
That was back in the early 80s.
Because of course in those days,
yeah,
you wouldn't get many scores that low.
No. I was really on full chat, and as you are in the youth, you know, confidence and flows. You're supple and you listen, and you just let it all go, and I was just natural, and it just flowed, and I just loved every minute of it. And I think about the championships when I look back. It's some people get nervous when you're in front of a crowd, but I thought the way people give their time up to come and watch, why don't you put a show on for them? Right? A bit like the ever Lee Trevino, give the public something to cheer about, and that's what I tried to do and make it as entertaining as I could. And I just lapped it up. I remember the championship at Ramsey when the late Arthur Smith was our Scratch League manager. He caddied for me in the opening round. I shot 65, 13 pars and 5 birdies, never dropped a shot, and it was one of the only few rounds in my life that every shot was perfect. And you cannot say that about golf, as you all know, as we all know. The second round I was 75, 10 shots worse, and I hit 4 bunkers, and I failed to get up and down, and 1 or 2 putts didn't drop, and that was the only difference. I still struck the ball as well, but just missed a few and didn't get up and down. But great days, great memories, and just, you know, sorry they're not here now.
Well, just to finish off your side of things, just cast your mind back to all the wonderful captains that we've had at Castletown Golf Club. I just want you to pick one out. Say one, I want to say your favourite captain or best captain, or I just want to say your most memorable captain in that time.
Oh, golly. Now you've got me. You've put me on the spot now,
It's hard to lose a lot of friends.
Eh? Yeah. Oh dear. That's a question I've not really given a lot of thought about, to be honest.
Well, the spotlight's on you.
As Murray just said, how to lose friends. Oh,
a memorable
golly.
captain, one that sticks out in your mind and goes, oh yeah, that was a memorable year for whatever reason, either the fun or competitions and sponsorships, or the weather was great, or
Mike Henthorne was a good one. Mike, and unfortunately Mike's no longer with us, but he was a great guy, very well respected and keen golfer, lovely fellow. And yes, and there was Les Doherty. There's many I could think, but those two.
But certainly those two shone in your mind. Well,
and
that's fantastic.
There's probably Manny Manuja, another character. I can tell you a few stories about Manny back into the early days of the hotel, but we better not go there, Jay.
Excellent. Okay, well, if we just hand over to Murray for a moment, and we're speaking to Murray Crowe now. Obviously, Murray, you're known as the ex-professional. We are celebrating 125 years at Castletown Golf Links, but you weren't here for that long, were you?
Not quite, no. Very, very close, in fact. My first connection with Castletown was in 1955, when I was a wee boy of 16 and looking for a job. My father had just been made a lighthouse keeper at Langness, so we came down from Mackerel down here, and I applied for a job in the kitchen, which I was a kitchen porter for a year. Got promoted the following year to commie chef. Learnt my golf here. When in the winter time we went working on the golf course, so I learned to be a greenkeeper as well as a chef. And there was a chap, the head greenkeeper, was called Stanley Devereux, who was a brother of Billy Devereux, who was the pro at in Douglas. And Stanley, Tanty we called him, taught me how to play golf. I then went back to Scotland, carried on in my chefing career, got my handicap down to 2, and was asked by the pro there to be his assistant. I'd never ever entered my mind to be a golf pro. So I became his assistant, did my 1.5 years apprenticeship as it was then. The hotel owners heard that I was available as a golf pro. Harry Galling, who was the professional here in those days, was retiring. So I got the job, and that was my first start at Castletown.
So, of course, you were linked now to the links for some time. You must have come across some top players.
Well, yes, indeed. I've been very fortunate to meet 4 Open champions. Fred Daly, Max Faulkner, Tony Jacklin, and Greg Norman. Fred Daly, I have to tell you about. Fred used to come with a party from Balmoral and played another party that came over from Macclesfield, played here. And Fred used to like a drink. In fact, he was very fond of his drink. He came out this particular morning, very bleary-eyed. In fact, his eyes were the colour of liver. And he said, I would give anything not to go out here today. Off he went. 4 hours later, one of his partners came in from the course and said, he's unbelievable, this guy. He said there was the old course, and the first par 3 was the 6th, now the 13th. He got a 2 at the 6th. He then gets a 2 on the 8th. So all the chatter then was, will he get a 2 on the 16th? He actually holed his second shot on the 10th hole, which was then the 13th. So he was even more determined then to get his 2 on the 16th. He knocked it 15 feet away, and one of his playing partners said it was like him playing the Open all over again. He strode around the putt, took a real lot of time over the putt, and holed it. And he's the only one that I know has had 4 2s in the one round. So that was quite something. Met Greg Norman, who came down with Nigel Mansell, had him over here, and he played the course. Charming guy, I like Norman very much indeed.
And Max Faulkner, you said.
And Max Faulkner, yeah. Well, Tony Jacklin did videos. He did a series of videos here, which was very good, and I think people still watch them. Max Faulkner didn't actually play here. He played at Douglas. He gave an exhibition match in Douglas. I think Kevin will probably remember that. So those are the 4 Open champions that I've met.
The big 4, and on a club level.
I actually met another one, not here. I met Sevi Ballesteros in Spain. I was Nigel Mansell's coach, and I'd been coaching Nigel through the winter, and he got invited to play in the Mallorcan Open, and they had a pro-am event, and he played with Sevi. And I had changed Nigel's swing completely. He was very upper body, very, very powerful upper body with no legs. So we totally stripped his swing, gave him a new swing, played with Sevi in the pro-am, and Sevi, who had played with him before, saw a distinct difference in his swing, improvement in his swing. The day of the event, he played with 2 guys that hit it a country mile. So what does Nigel do? The old Nigel came back. You could see the muscles in his neck tensing. He's trying to keep up with these guys, and knocked it all over the place. The swing just disintegrated within about 5 holes. Quite sad to see.
And speaking of great swings, on a club level, who are the players that stick in your mind?
Castletown.
Yeah.
Well, there's been a lot of good. Well, Adrian was a great player in his heyday, and he's still got it now. I gave him a couple of tips a few minutes ago. I told him, let's have a look at your alignment, and his alignment is slightly out, but I think he's going to work on that. There's been some really, really good golfers. Julian Sutton was mentioned, one of the best players going. But I believe Tom Harris is doing well. Well, I taught Tom from that height. He used to come to all the junior lessons, and I could see the potential when he started. As I did with Julian, I taught Julian when he was very young at Rowney, and you could see the potential right from the start that these guys were going to be really good players. And I wish Tom all the very best in the future.
Indeed we do, and I'm sure over those years, I think we had the heyday of the hotel. So, what did that mean to you?
Well,
business in the pro shop and
I just arrived there just now, and it breaks my heart remembering what it was like in the days I've been in its heyday. It was a beautiful hotel, very well run. Mr. and Mrs. Makinson, who ran the hotel in the early days, were just turning the graves now in the sort of state it's in. It's quite tragic. And I try and avoid coming out here because it does break my heart to see the state it's in now. Hopefully one day it'll be restored back to the way it was.
Well, obviously you know the potential and how good it can be. I mean, there must be some great memories about halcyon days and hot summers and pro-ams. I mean, what about the pro-am? That must be big.
Oh yes, yeah, we've had a lot of pro-ams here. There's the Cole Classic, it used to be called in those days, and some really big names used to come over here and play, and I can't remember them all now. When you get to my age, memory does slip slightly.
What about the changes to the course? I mean, there's been some evolution, hasn't there, over the years?
There hasn't been an awful lot of the course, apart from the rotation of the holes. When I first came here, it was actually played the way it's played now. It was changed probably about 65, 66. The owners of the hotel, when it was the fourth, they were starting 4 balls only from the first. 2s and 3s had to go up to the road hole, which was then the 5th. By changing the rotation, it made it the 8th, so they managed to get more people away from from the hole. So, but the actual course hasn't really changed. Well, it hadn't. I'm just looking out the window just now. I didn't recognise the place. I could have been anywhere.
Well, I mean, Langness has been here for thousands of years, and Langness will always be here. You know, it's a great course, and it's favoured by many golfers on the island. Just thinking back to what we said to Adrian about the captains. Any captains stick in your mind as characters, or?
Oh yes, we've had lots of good captains, but my favourite captain, without a doubt, was Manny. Manny was my favourite, and Mike Hanthorne, God bless him, he was a super captain as well. But they've all been good captains. I've been to nearly all the dinners, and every captain has been, in my mind, the captain. And that's the way I see it.
Excellent. Okay. Well, we'll just draw this to a close. Thank you very much.
There's one little thing I would like to. You know how they say golf is all in the mind. Well, many years ago, when you repair golf clubs years ago, it's totally different to what it is now. It was you had to be pretty good at doing it. And one day this chap came in and he says, "Could you wait to put some more weight in the head of the club for me?" And I said, "Yes, certainly, no problem." So I took the head off. Now in those days, taking the head of the club off, some of the sole plates were actually glued. The screws were actually glued in. So it meant drilling the heads off, prising the sole plate up, drilling the tips out that were left in, and then drilling a hole, putting lead in, putting the plate back in, putting the screws in. That's the way you change weight in those days. Big operation. So I did it for this guy, and he went away and he came back and he said, "Oh, what a difference. It was really good, thank you." A week later, one of his mates came in and he says, "Can you do the same with my club?" I said, "Yeah, certainly, no problem." So went through taking the head off and rivets out, and no, I'm telling a lie. Forget that. I didn't take the head off. I put a label on the club, put it on the bench. And the next day, I came in from a lesson, and the assistant said, "Oh, by the way, so and so has picked his club up." I said, "But I haven't done it." He said, well, he's picked it up. He's gone off. So anyway, before I could say anything, in walks the guy. And before I was trying to say to him, he says, oh, what a difference. He said, I've hit the ball absolutely beautifully. I've never hit it as good. What a difference that has made. Didn't have the heart to tell him I hadn't done it. He says, how much is that? I says, it's a £5.
Oh, it just shows it's all in the mind, eh?
So that's what I mean. It's all in the mind. And even weeks later, he came back in and says that you made such a difference to that club. So
Unbelievable.
So
Great days.
Excellent.
Great days. And there's many more stories we could go, Jed, but we haven't got the time to do it. But
yeah, well,
we
I didn't mention '84 when we ran the golf course.
And
Well, 1984 there was a dispute between the owner of the hotel and the golf club, and the owner of the hotel had been paying £900 a year for the rent of the land. They decided to put it up. The owners of the land decided to put it up to £5,000. The owners of the hotel owned the first, the 18th, and the fourth green, and half the fifth. Anyway, he decided that he wasn't going to have anything to do with the 15 holes. It was up to the club. So the club then decided to run the 15 holes. And the actual first hole was where the tractor sheds is now, up to the 7th green, round to the 17th, and then back to the road hole again, the race course. You played the race course, and you played the loop twice, in fact. You went up the 7th, 8th and 9th, and that was the end of your round. I give you the 18 holes. So the club decided to get some landscape gardeners in to look after the course. Having had experience of greenkeeping like I did in the early days, I told the club, I said I was quite prepared to look after the course. So I did for 2 years, till '86. And in that time we revetted all the bunker faces. Bearing in mind it was myself, my son the first year, with the help of Tom Farrimond, Norman Ennett and Tom Dorr. I called them TNT. and they helped out. The second year had Lord Fawley Gort, and we revetted all the bunkers, and we had the equipment we had was out of the ark. It was real old antiquated stuff, apart from the machines to cut the greens. And we did that for 2 years, about 2.5 years.
Wow, what a story. What a story from chefing to proing to greenkeeping.
That's it.
And now orating about the history. Thanks very much, gentlemen. It's been a real pleasure to hear those stories.
Nice to be involved in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan.
Thank you.
Lovely.